Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. We're doing again today Psalm 105. This is part 2. All this week we're going to be doing the second half, which is verses 25 through 45 of Psalm 105. And last time we talked about that this is in praise of God's work in history, what He's done for the people. And we made it all the way up through Joseph's story last time. And we talked about Joseph, and I encourage you to go back and read Genesis 37 through 50. That's all of Joseph's story and how Jacob came down and Israel eventually made their way down into Egypt. Well, today we begin with verse 25. And verse 25 is what happened after Joseph. So this is the time of the Exodus. We're going to be introduced to Moses and Aaron here in verse 26, and we're going to see all the signs that God did to deliver them, and then eventually to the end of the psalm, we'll see the people entering into the land with joy, and the goal of the entire piece is in verse 45. That they might observe His statutes and keep His laws. Praise ye the Lord. So that's the end, that's the goal of all of this. Today we're going to be reading 25 through 28. And let me just go ahead and begin the reading there. He turned their heart to hate His people and dealt subtly with His servants. He sent Moses His servant and Aaron whom He had chosen. They showed His signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against His word. Okay, that's verses 25 through 28. Notice, verse 25, the turn happens. Joseph is gone. Now there's a Pharaoh that arises that does not know Joseph. And it says there in 25, He turned their hearts to hate His people, to deal subtly with His servants. If you go back to the book of Exodus, chapter 1, in verse 10 of the book of Exodus, you'll find this verse. Verse 10, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So the subtlety of the Pharaoh that comes in after Joseph is his craftiness is outlined for us here in verse 10 of Exodus chapter 1. Then we have Exodus chapter 4 mentioned in verse 26, Moses and Aaron. You remember at the end of Moses' first prayer, he has an encounter with his brother Aaron, and they greet one another, and God has sent Aaron to Moses to help him with the commission of going and telling the people that it's time to come out of Egypt. That's in verses 28 and 29 of Exodus chapter 4. Then we have verse 27. He showed His signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. This is sort of the topic sentence over all that is going to be said now about the signs. And you notice again, we have the land of Ham mentioned. I said something about that last time in verse 23. This is an ancient place name for Egypt because Ham was the father of Egypt. And if you go back to Genesis chapter 10, verses 6 and verse 13, you'll see the generations of Ham outlined as it proceeds through Egypt. Egypt was his son, and then his son Egypt had certain sons, and all of those place names and all those people names are found right there in that area of the delta region of Egypt, all down that eastern coastline. Lud and Cushim and all of those people groups are right there. Follow the Nile down into Africa, and you'll find those people groups. And then, verse 28, we begin with one of the most outstanding miracles or signs that God performs, and that is the darkness. So Exodus chapter 10 pops in here. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against His word. If you go back and look at Exodus chapter 10, you'll see that it was darkness, the Lord says, that could be felt. That's dark. So now we begin the list of signs. We're going to follow that all the way down through, verse 30. Yeah, verse 36. We have the list of signs, and we'll find out more about the signs and how God delivered the people from Egyptian captivity tomorrow on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.